When loading the autoclave, the one thing you want to always make sure is that the water level is always in the green and not in the red. The water can be found typically in the jugs that are sitting next to the autoclave. This water is specific for the autoclave. It's the distilled water. And we will show you where you get the distilled water to fill these jugs back up. The water goes into the autoclave using this dispenser, and you don't want to overfill. So I'm not going to fill this autoclave very much because there's already plenty of water in this. But before running, you always want to make sure that it's on the green. When you have to clean the autoclave, if it's ever your turn to clean the autoclave, this hose is going to be the hose that you take off where the water actually comes out, and this is how you drain the autoclave when cleaning. We're not going to go into cleaning the autoclave in this video, but I did just want to show you how you drain the autoclave. CA, the first thing you're going to want to do is make sure that the ultrasonic has cleaning solution in it so that it's ready for any time anybody is done with their instruments. You're going to use the pitcher that can be found in the cabinet under the sink. Fill this with water, and then you will fill the ultrasonic solution or the ultrasonic bath until it is full. Once it's full, you're going to use the Daily Clean crystals that can also be found under the sink, and you're going to use 3 level scoops and place it into the water. If you forget how many scoops you should need when mixing the solution, all of the information can be found here above the ultrasonic, and it tells us exactly what we need. Once this is full, it is then ready to be used for instrument cleaning. At the end of the day, not the end of the clinic, but if it's a 5 o'clock clinic and it's the end of the day, the CA will want to drain this bath. We drain the bath by coming in here underneath the cabinet and locating the red switch on the copper drain. Currently, with the switch in the vertical position, the drain is now closed. We move that switch to the parallel position with the tubing, and now the drain is open and the bath will release its water. If you are CA and you need to replace the sealant supplies, they can be found in the cabinets in central sterilization above the autoclaves. Inside this cabinet, you can see we have several containers. These containers include all of the things that you need for sealant preparation and sealant placement. If you're going through these and you find that the etchant is almost gone, then what you will need to do is ask a clinical instructor, because the clinical instructors have keys to the large cabinet where we can get extra supplies. All of these need to be full and ready to go. That way when it's your turn to do sealants, there's plenty of supplies available for you and you don't have to go digging and looking for supplies. At the 8 o'clock clinic time, the one thing we need to always remember is that the suction will not work if the vacuum pump and the compressor are not turned on. So we turn on the vacuum pump and the suction you'll start to hear the suction. And then we also turn on the compressor. And the air compressor is what runs our chairs and runs our motors. So if these are not on, nothing in this clinic will work. So if for some reason your handpiece is not working, make sure you double check the wall. When going to clean the evacuation systems on the chairs, you're going to use Slug Buster. When this bottle is empty, you're not going to throw this bottle away. We actually mix the powder into the water. The powder can be found over in the cabinet in central sterilization. This Slug Buster, as a CA, you're going to want to check every clinic to make sure that there's actually solution inside the container. As a CA, you will then use the Slug Buster, pouring it into the smaller containers. And this will be what the clinicians will use to clean out their suction at the end of the clinic period. So we always want to make sure that this bucket is full of solution. Like I said, double check it at the beginning of the clinic, and I would say sometime mid-clinic, make sure that this is mixed up and ready to go. Every day, the mid-mark and the statum needs to be spore tested. This is the only way to assure that all of the instruments are sterile. What you need to do is come and find this bucket in the back of radiology, and it's going to tell you which autoclave gets spore tested on what days. So for example, today is Friday. So today we actually need to spore test the statum. So we will open up this container, and inside the folder is our spore test. We have to open up the envelope to actually find the test strip. This is the test strip that we will use. When spore testing the statum, we're going to remove the spore strip from the envelope. We will load the statum with instruments, but when you place the spore test, you want to make sure you place it in the back of whatever container you're going to use when you're sterilizing. So you want to place it in the back of the container because we want to make sure that the steam wraps around all of the instruments. So of course this would be loaded with instruments as well as the spore test before we actually run the autoclave. You would shut the lid just like you would if you were running just a regular set of instruments. Load it into the statum, press packs, and start. Let the cycle finish. When the cycle is finished, you would open up the container. The spore test, at this point, the test strip will be very wet. And you take this test strip and you place it into the envelope, seal the envelope, use the instruction sheet to fill out the envelope. You can tell exactly what you're supposed to write. You're also going to write your operator name, so who did the test, and then this goes to Mrs. Shorey. Is when you need to spore test the mid-mark. You are going to, in a similar fashion, remove the strip from the envelope and place the spore strip in the very back of the autoclave while it's also loaded with instruments. You're going to load the autoclave, shut the door, and then run this on pouches just as normal. When the autoclave is complete, you will remove all the instruments and put them away in their correct place. Take out the spore strip, place it in the envelope, close the envelope, and use the instructions to fill out the front side of the envelope prior to handing it to Mrs. Shorey. Please make sure that you include your name. At the end of the clinic session, especially the afternoon clinic, the last time you want to run the autoclave is about 4:15. We really don't want the autoclaves to run all night long in case of a fire or malfunction. So if you need to run another batch, make sure that it's not past 4:15. At the end of the day, however, everything needs to be emptied and put away, and the autoclaves need to at least be in the stop position. We do not need to unplug the autoclave. If you are using the statum, you do need to flip the power switch off, which can be found behind the autoclave on the back side to the left.